Hey, freight agents, are you tired of being held back? Since 2012, Tallgrass Freight has built a proven track record at the top tier independent freight agent network, and we're just getting started. Here, our agents get the best of both worlds, the freedom to be true entrepreneurs paired with the full support of a company that has their back, uncapped commission, zero territory restrictions, and a world-class back office. At Tallgrass, you're never just a number. You're part of a network that values independence, celebrates success, and invests in your future. Whether you're a solo agent or leading a team, Tallgrass gives you the tools, transparency, and flexibility to grow your business on your terms. No corporate red tape, no micromanaging, just freedom, support, and unlimited potential. To join our team, visit tallgrassfreight.com/podcast. That's tallgrassfreight.com/podcast. All right, welcome to the next edition of the Recruiting Stories podcast. Thrilled to have you guys with us today. We're brought to you by Tallgrass Freight, our sponsor. Check them out, www.tallgrassfreight.com/podcast. If you want to learn more about them and becoming a freight agent, reach out to me as well if you've got questions. Our guest today is the one and only Tim McConville. Tim, how are you?
Oh, brother, I'm doing good. Good to be here with you today.
Man. Yeah, I'm thrilled to have you. So Tim is with an organization called Man Up. Tim, will you tell us what Man Up is and what you guys do?
So Man Up, I mean, in its simplest form, without getting into the weeds on it, is simply an organization that's about fighting for fatherlessness. Our mission is we want to gather men together to help end generational fatherlessness. 1 in 4 kids in America growing up in a home without a father figure, without somebody, a male presence to look up to help mold them, shape them. They're lacking that in their lives. And so we can look at all the statistics of some negative outcomes, dropout rates from high school, suicide rates, going to prison, all these different numbers that you look at. And the thing that we go back to in all of those is a lack of a father in the home, lack of that male presence that somebody has as they're growing up.
Man, yeah, it's amazing. So I got connected with Man Up when I moved down here. I started Cover 3, whatever it is, 6-7 years ago now. And I met Tim in that process. And as I was kind of getting moved to the Springfield area, kind of learning about ways I could get plugged in, obviously wanted for me, was always getting plugged into my church, but it was other organizations that serve in a deeper capacity. And that's one that's always been deep on my heart. Was talking with the guys in the studio here earlier about, my background in football. And you meet a lot of guys who we all come from different geographic areas, different backgrounds and understandings on what family is, what a father is, how you should relate to those people. And in so many ways that shapes both good and bad, how someone, how someone operates in life and what their trajectory is and what their potential is. So tell me, I want to talk with you about how you landed there. This is the Recruiting Stories podcast. So I'm curious, were you recruited into this? Tell me a little bit about your story. Cause I know it's personal to you.
Absolutely.
So tell me a little bit about how you got here.
Yeah. The recruiting process for anything in life, let's be honest, recruiting a lot of times is based off of relationship. It's based off of, I know somebody that knew somebody, that kind of lends itself to get us to where we are today. There's always a story of, hey, I talked to this person. Recruiting is all about relationship. And so for me, it started off, first of all, growing up in a home without a father. So grew up in a home with a single mom, raising 3 kids. My dad lived several states away. He was an alcoholic. There was some abuse there. And so my parents got divorced and we moved away. And so I did not have him around really growing up. We saw him once a year. We went and spent about a week with him every summer. And that was it. Yeah. And so that was kind of my upbringing. And so kind of the full circle moment of why I do what I do now and why I'm passionate about it is because growing up, I had a great mom. She was incredible, We grew up in church. We talk about having a drug problem growing up. My drug problem was I got drugged to church every time the doors were open.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, so um, we were put in a position where we were able to be around the right people, if that
Right.
makes sense.
Yeah.
And so there was men in my life through, whether it was when I was in kids ministry, it was maybe a leader, or in the youth group, a youth leader, different coaches, just different guys that stepped up in life that became mentors, that became
Mm-hmm.
people that spoke into my life, that helped me learn what it looked like to be a godly man. What did it look like to be a guy that has work ethic, that
Mm-hmm.
takes care of his responsibilities? I learned all of those things through a combination of my mom, one, being awesome,
Mm-hmm.
but two, people coming around us helping us learn those things.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't because it was an organized thing of, hey, here's this young man that needs help. It was just
Mm-hmm.
doing life, going to church, being a part of things.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I deal with people today that don't have any type of support system, I'm like, man, get involved in a church.
Yeah. Right.
Like,
Yep.
even if you don't believe in God,
Right.
go get involved in a church, because you automatically have that support system
Right.
built in there. And so growing up, that was kind of my upbringing. And so now, as a 45-year-old dad of two kids, been married for 20 years, there's some things that I've learned that I feel like I can give back. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like I have
Mm-hmm.
some things to offer. And so I had a good friend of mine named Jim that had been a part of Man Up early on. And he said, hey, there's this organization that's all about fighting for fatherlessness.
Mm-hmm.
And it started internationally. So it started over in Africa,
Mm-hmm.
in Uganda and Ethiopia, as an international ministry, working with orphanages, working
Wow.
with
Okay.
kids in those situations.
Mm-hmm.
And guys were going on these missions trips and seeing that. And then they said, why aren't we doing anything in our own backyard?
Yeah.
So this group of guys that were in Tampa, Florida, and Springfield, Missouri said, let's start working in our backyards.
Yeah.
Let's start doing something about where we are. And that's when Jim said, hey, you need to come to this meeting and come hear about this. I'd love to get you a part of this.
Yeah.
And so I was there day one about 7 or 8 years ago when it started here in Springfield. And Jim was the recruiter. He was the
Yeah.
guy saying,
Yeah.
hey, let's come be a part of this. And here we are this many years later. And I've now been working full time with Man Up for about 2.5, 3 years now. And I serve as the director of strategic engagement.
Very cool.
So my job is recruiting.
Yeah.
I'm recruiting guys to volunteer. I'm recruiting people to come join the mission, whether it be through prayer, whether it be through serving at a project, giving financially, whatever it might be. How can we get people involved in this mission
Yeah.
of ending generational fatherlessness?
Well, and I mean, there's so much there. Like for me, that was the thing that really stuck out to me, was like the idea of ending generational fatherlessness. Because like I talked about at the beginning, there was so many, and you talked about so many of those statistics that say, man, without a father in the home, without a present father, all of these negative things are much more likely to happen without a father in the home. So if we can end that, we can wrap our arms around kids, or give men the tools they need to be better fathers who are engaged. Man, what an incredible mission! So love
And
the
I
work you
loved
do.
what you said earlier.
Yeah.
You talked about there is no, it doesn't matter what background you come from.
Mm-hmm.
You can come from poor, rich. You can come from, single parent, both parents in the home. Dad can be there and not be there.
Right.
There are so many different, fatherlessness is not a respecter of person in the
Right.
sense that it can affect any family.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter what side of the tracks you live on. It doesn't matter what side of town you live on.
Right.
Like, it can affect anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not like we're just looking for one certain demographic.
Right.
It's across the board.
Yep.
And so, and with that, that means there's different ways of approaching it.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I remember being a coach with my son's baseball team, and we dealt with it there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I had the opportunity as a baseball coach to speak in the lives of kids that didn't have a dad around.
Right.
And so whether you're at a rec center coaching basketball, or you're at a dance studio working with kids there, or
Yep.
you're at, there's just so many different ways that this can be fleshed out.
Yep.
That it be a next door neighbor, it can be a coworker that you're talking to. There's so many. It's everywhere,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
And I mean, I remember when I was a college football coach for a few years, and one of those, it was amazing to me to see that grown men sometimes, I mean, they would come to me, who was only a couple years older than sometimes, but because I was a coach, I ended up having to be a father figure to these young men going through really difficult moments in their life. And it was almost shocking to me, and I'm fortunate. I mean, I had a good dad in the home, and I had good men around me. I count that as very, very, very fortunate in my own life. But I began to see it as a problem throughout high school and college, and then when I was coaching college, I was like, man, it is rampant how many guys they're just winging it because they haven't had an example
Hmm.
above them. But let me ask you that on that topic, like you've talked with and helped a ton of people, and what do you what I, how do I ask it? What's the root cause of fatherlessness? If you had to take a stab and take a guess, like what is it?
Wow, that's a deep question. Because I would say at the end of the day, and I don't know how spiritual you get
Sure.
on the podcast,
You can
but
go as spiritual as you want.
from a spiritual standpoint of somebody that has a faith in a creator that created each of us,
Mhm.
that I believe at the root of all of us, we are all built to desire and want relationship.
Mhm.
But we were created. I mean, if you look at the very beginning, God created man and woman. He created marriage and family to look a certain way.
Yeah.
And when evil came into the world, I mean, just at the simplest form, when that happened back in the garden with Adam and Eve, that put that crack in there, I believe,
Mhm.
in kind of starting to change what family looked
Yeah.
like. And
Right.
so you just kind of see that ripple effect over time. But I because we're broken people.
Yeah.
At the
Right.
end of the day, we're all broken people, and that brokenness means we don't know how to do relationships sometimes.
Yeah. Right.
And I think I think guys are just trying to figure out one, how to be themselves. What
Mhm.
does that look like? And when you live in a society that's trying to dictate what that looks like,
Mhm.
it skews what God created us to
Yeah.
be.
Right.
God created us to be a certain way, and that has been skewed and messed up and been distorted
Right.
over time. And so guys don't know how to be.
Right.
And so when you look at the terms of like toxic masculinity,
Yeah.
you look at how masculinity is portrayed on a TV screen and portrayed in a way that everybody sees, that changes the way
Right.
we live that out.
Yeah.
And so the ripple effect of that is our families are affected by it, marriages are affected by it, homes are affected by it, and society then is affected by it.
Yeah, it seems like all of that, is in some way kind of connected, like sin, right? And then selfishness, right? As selfishness as a sin. And I know for me, like, when I do stupid things, right? Because inevitably I do. And if you ask my wife, she would nod her head and say, like, yeah, absolutely you do. Um, it's it's because of my own selfishness, right? Like I want what I want, and be it I don't have a good example, or I see somebody who's better than me, or making more money than me, or has things that I don't
The
have.
comparison trap
100%.
is,
We all
I
have
mean,
it.
you talk about any guy, I mean, humans in general, but
Yeah, yeah,
guys, we struggle with that trap of comparing ourselves with other people and feeling like we need to
totally,
look a certain way, act a certain way,
totally.
drive certain cars, live in
Yeah,
certain houses, have certain jobs, making
totally.
certain amount of money. And when we don't have some of those things, we feel less than.
100%.
And that causes us then to act certain ways. Then we take that out then on our spouses, or we take it out on
Yes.
our kids.
Yes.
And yeah, the comparison trap is one that affects us on a regular basis.
And if you don't have a healthy way to deal with those things, which if you've grown up in a good home, perhaps you do, or you've seen it, or you've watched a good man do that. And if you haven't, it almost seems like, well, the stress related response is to go do something extreme to help you win whatever situation that
Yeah.
is, be that money or women or jobs or
Yeah,
competition.
either we overcompensate and go and do more and
Hmm.
try to accomplish more, or it can have negative effect and cause us to retract.
Abandon. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Where we go, hey, I can't handle this anymore, throw my hands up and walk away. And what we end up walking away from is the most important
Mm,
relationships in our life.
yeah.
And so, again, you go back to then what causes fatherlessness is either one, we're over ambitious. And so we don't give our
Mm,
kids enough time, or we just simply choose to walk away.
yeah.
And I see a lot of guys that make that decision to walk away. And as a dad myself, as a dad
Hmm.
yourself, like I just could never imagine
Yeah.
doing that. Like that just doesn't make sense to me.
Right.
As a dad myself, like I think to myself, why did my dad choose to do that?
Yeah.
Why did
Right.
he choose to act that way and push us away?
Hmm.
And the reality is because of his upbringing.
Yep.
It was because of, he didn't have that example. He
Right.
wasn't taught that. And so when we talk about, in our mission, breaking that generational cycle of fatherlessness,
Mhm.
breaking that cycle takes somebody stepping up and saying, enough's enough.
Yep.
I'm breaking that cycle and we're starting a new cycle. We're starting a
Right.
new habit here. And so that was for me, that was my mom. My
Hmm.
mom said, enough's enough.
Yep.
Where I don't want this for my kids. I don't
Hmm.
want this happening for them. And
Yep.
so she did everything she could to try to instill in us,
Mm.
to be there for us, to
Yep.
teach us, and to put the right people around us to break that cycle in our family.
And you had your mom who was, it seems like we talk about recruiting. You had that safe place, someone that you could reach out to and have, but then she also put you in a position to where you had other men and other people who could show you what
Yeah.
an example of good was as well. And that's what I have seen being a part of Man Up, and the events we've done, the families we've helped support, is sometimes it's whether we're helping something or there's a specific event and we're lending a hand. Sometimes it seems like, hey, uh, both to those families and then also to those kids or the men involved, like
Mm,
this is someone who is safe that you can talk to. So talk maybe a little more about
mm.
that. What are some of those things that you guys are doing to create to recruit people out of that or give them the resources that they need?
Yeah, to me, and I've been using this word a lot lately, consistency is huge.
Hmm.
When you talk about building relationships with people, when you're talking about recruiting, just in general, whether it's in a workplace, if it's volunteers, if whatever area of recruiting it is, it's about consistency.
Hmm.
Consistency breeds trust,
Yeah.
right? And then trust is building in that relationship. And with that, then you have people that say, you know what, I trust them. I know they've got my back. I know
Yeah.
that they're there for me. So in that moment, they're willing to say, okay, I'm going to open up a little bit more
Right.
here. And so whether you're building that consistency and that relationship with a foster adoptive family that we work with,
Right.
or that's with a young person that's grown up in very traumatic situations that they don't trust anybody.
Hmm.
And you see that play out in very different ways. Sometimes it plays out in anger and acting out. Sometimes it's retreating and not talking to anybody. What I love seeing is when we're consistent in a kid's life, in a family's life, in a dad's life, whoever it is that we're working with, I love seeing that transformation in how they view you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. There's a young man I've worked with now, or I say worked with, I've built a relationship and connected with over the last 6 years that when I met him, he was younger, didn't want to talk,
Yeah.
had a lot of things going on in life, and now he's 17 years old,
Hmm.
and we talk,
Yeah.
we have
Right.
conversations, there's a change in that dynamic,
Hmm.
and that's just simply been because I've been there.
Yep.
It's not because I've done anything special. It's not because I've taken him through this 12-step program where
Right.
I've
Yep.
just done life. I've gone to basketball games, or I've gone to a birthday party, or I've invited him to come hang out with my family,
Yep.
or whatever that is. But consistency was huge in that.
Yep.
And by doing that, you're building relationship. If somebody feels like you're just there to get something from them,
Yeah. Feels transactional.
absolutely,
Yep.
and that's a big struggle.
Yeah.
And I know for you in business, for me in development work with
Yep.
nonprofit
Yep.
and working with people, I strive every day to try to get away from the transactional relationships,
Yeah.
and I want it to be transformational. I
Yep.
want it to be
Right.
relationships that matter, because at the end of the day, I truly care
Hmm.
about people.
Right.
I care about people more than I do the transaction that may
Yep.
possibly come from that. And the only way that happens is through consistency and time and genuinely caring about things beyond just what we're
That
talking
one
about.
single,
Right.
action. It's funny that you say that. So I lead a small group at my church, and we've been doing it since we've been there. So it's been like 6 years now. But I feel like, to your point, that it wasn't until like year 3 that it finally. Now, women are a little bit different, and my wife, if you know my wife, she seems to have a gift of just like connecting instantly with people, and people trust her really fast. But for me, it wasn't until like year 3 that I would have guys be like, "Hey, let's go grab coffee. I want to talk about something." Or, "Hey,
Mhm.
can we get together?" And or if I invite them, people would be like, "Yeah, let's get together." For like the first 2, 3 years, it was like a cautious, like, "Yeah, like we're gonna meet at church when we meet," because we have a small group. But outside of that, there wasn't a ton of it.
Yeah.
But now it's like there's deep relationships. We've done life together for 5 years now, 5, 6 years, and so it takes time. I'd love to know what the data is on that before they're like trust built. You know what I mean? I'm curious what that would be.
Well, and it's different. Different people have different rapport in the
Right.
sense that some people it's easier to open up.
Right.
I'm typically not a person that's just opening up
Right.
to everybody.
Right.
I'm one of those that's a little bit slower.
Hmm.
But I think that plays into the dynamic of a group,
Hmm.
that they're like, okay, if I divulge this information,
Yeah.
what are you going to do with it?
Yeah. Yep.
If I share this with you, what are you? And so there may be this, all right, I'll try this out. We'll see. Because what I've heard a lot, and unfortunately, it gives it gives Christians a bad name, is sometimes we would use something would be shared in a group,
Yep.
and then later on, you find out it was shared with somebody else, and
Yep.
it was, well, I wanted them to pray with you, and so I
Right.
felt like I needed to share.
Right.
When at the end of the day, I'm going, no, man, that's not for you
Right.
to do that, right? It's those little things that
Right.
go, okay, I'm going to lock that in the back of my head now, and I'm going to remember I can't share
Right. Yeah.
things that I don't want other people to, right?
Right. Right.
And so that makes it hard then the next
Right.
time to go, hey, I have something going on. Can I share it here?
Yeah. And we all walk around, I think, with this sense of self, right? So, I have an idea of who I think that I am, and the baggage that I carry, and the identity of who I am with work or whatever. And sometimes if somebody pops that bubble, I don't like that, right? And sometimes that might be in a really healthy way, like maybe somebody's like calling me out on an issue that I have, and I need that sometimes. But especially, in the case of, I think, Man Up, somebody maybe who needs some help or support in the process of becoming and being a father, or supporting a family, like that feels threatening if you do it the wrong way. So it takes time, and it takes a relationship to say, like, hey, I'm not against you. I am for you.
Yeah.
And I say that, all the time. I mean, I say that even as an example in recruiting, like we have to talk about compensation on most calls. And I'm like, I am not doing this to just like, to get all the details of your life. for me to help you best, I need to know some of these details. I have to be able to help you by knowing these things so we can
Yeah.
get you to where you want to be. And I think the same would be probably true for someone who is trying to be a better father. Like, where have you come from? What are the issues? Because we can't get to where you want to go without knowing where you're at right now today, I would assume, right?
That's good. No, you're 100% right, because use an example. I was just last night get connected with a situation where I need
Mm-hmm.
to go and help a guy out that his girlfriend's gotten pregnant and he's being kicked out of a house, and so I've never met this guy. Okay,
Mm,
my first time meeting him
yeah.
was to help get him into a hotel for a
Mm,
couple nights,
yep.
kind of help figure some things out. But I just start asking questions,
Yeah.
and I'm like, "Tell me about yourself. Why are you here? What brought you here? Tell me about your family.
Yeah.
Tell me about." And it's like it sounds like I'm grilling them with
Right.
questions, but at the end of the day, I'm just trying to find out, who are you?
Right.
Like, why are you in this
Right.
situation right now where you need some random person you've never met
Yeah.
to come help you out?
Right.
Right. And so he's answering the questions, he's telling me, and I'm like, okay, but why that? Okay, but
Right.
what,
Yep.
what I've learned is I've learned to ask the right questions. I've
Mm-hmm.
learned to you ask the right qualifying questions,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
That's all part of this process of getting to know a person. Imagine trying to do that in 20 minutes,
Yeah. Right.
right?
Yeah.
Imagine trying to do that in 20 minutes. But this guy's going, do I trust them?
Yeah.
you know,
Totally. Yeah.
does he trust me?
Well, and that's such. I mean, because yours are a much more life altering conversations, right? Like I always kind of joke that like, hey, I'm in recruiting, and so like while it can be like life altering in the sense of like a career, like nobody's dying over here when we're having conversations. But sometimes that could be the case when where you're at, the types of conversation, the people that you're dealing with, and so it is crucial to like come at things with genuine curiosity and
Mm,
come at it with love. And if you can do that, like it breaks down barriers so much quicker. And the conversations I had in ministry, like when someone's, coming at you with like, I'm at this situation in life, and it's like, man, tell me why, tell me how you got here, and not like I'm here to judge you. Like I'm not here to like put you in jail or I'm not your dad. I'm not gonna spank you, but like
yeah.
tell me, I
Well,
want
I'll
to
tell
help
you
you.
what's interesting to me is trying to put yourself in their shoes,
Mm-hmm.
trying to put yourself in somebody else's shoes and what they're going through. And I'll be honest with you, sometimes it's hard for me.
Yeah.
Even though I grew up in some of the, stuff that I grew
Right.
up, not having dad around, we didn't live in chaos
Right.
in the sense that, I lived in a mobile home trailer, but we took care of it. Like, it
Yeah.
was clean. It
Right.
was, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, we cared about what we
Right.
owned. And a lot of times people have this idea that if you're poor, you don't have a
Mm-hmm.
lot, that means you live in a mess. That
Yep.
means you live, and that's not true.
Right.
And so I'm a very organized,
Right.
I like things being neat and in a
Mm-hmm.
certain way. But what I've learned is a lot of people that are in the situations that I come in contact with, they live in a life of chaos.
Yeah. Right.
And I'll use an example. Last night, going and meeting up with them, it's starting to get dark out, and I'm up on the north side of
Mm-hmm.
Springfield. Being outside, and the homelessness and the people walking
Mm.
around just feels shady.
Yeah.
It
Right.
feels like
Yeah.
there's just this uneasy
Right.
feeling, and there's people yelling,
Yeah.
and it's just chaos.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so sometimes it's hard when you're living in that chaos to see life any
Yep.
different.
Right.
And so for me, I'm trying to put myself in that person's shoes to
Yeah.
say, to have some empathy. And it's hard sometimes,
Yep.
because that chaos, I don't get that.
It's very different than the world that I live in today.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct.
Absolutely. Well, okay. So let's maybe land the plane here a little bit as we wrap up and talk about the person who might be listening to this. Maybe they're a leader in the transportation industry. Maybe they're an executive. Maybe they're just in the business world,
Mm,
in ministry, something like that. And this has spoke to them. They say, man, I love the idea of ending fatherlessness.
mm,
How can they themselves get involved? And let me qualify that by saying too, like, I am also a dad of 3 kids. I run a business. I serve my church. Like it, I am very busy as well. So like
Mm.
people who have a lot going on, but they're like, I do care. I want to help. How do they do that? Like, what do you see, and what have you seen Man Up partner well with people?
Yeah. So a couple things. One, I believe everybody has the ability to do something.
Mhm.
Okay. Everybody has the ability to do something.
Yep.
People that say they're too busy is basically what they're doing is putting a barrier around them. And a lot of times I'll, go back to a word you used earlier. Sometimes we're just selfish
Mm,
and we don't want to get outside of what we want.
yep.
And I would say everybody has the ability to do something. So
Yep.
I think we have to remove that barrier first of all.
Right.
Because here's the deal: if you're a dad, that means you've got kids who have friends.
Right.
Well, guess what? Your friends, the friends of your kids, I, I would tell
Totally.
you right now, probably several of them don't have dads
Yeah.
around. And so just simply by having that kid over for a play date, or that kid maybe when they get older, they
Mhm.
spend the night, you become then in that moment somebody that's speaking life into those
Yeah.
kids.
Right.
That is doing something. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Being intentional to see what's going on around you and be willing to be a positive voice,
Yeah.
be somebody that speaks into that person's life. Does that make
Right.
sense?
Yeah.
So that's step number one. But we also, as an organization, have a resource that we created that is what we call a discipleship tool.
Mhm.
That if you go to a church and you guys really don't have something that you're doing as a church to focus on this, patros.us
Yep.
is the website to go to this resource. It's a video-based curriculum for you to take a group of guys through to grow, be discipled as men. But then it also is challenging us to do something, and it's giving ways to do that.
Yeah.
So, in a church setting, in a small group setting, you got a group of guys that you say, "Hey, what are we doing outside of the walls of our home, outside of the walls of the church to make a difference?" And so there's all different ways we do that. For us, it's working with foster and adoptive families.
Mhm.
It's youth mentoring.
Mhm.
It's working with at-risk dads. It's
Mhm.
working with kids who have aged out of the foster care system.
Right.
Like there's many different things that you can get involved in.
Mhm.
The key is saying, I want to do something.
Yeah.
And if
Right.
you're willing to do something as an organization, we're here, whether you live here in Missouri, you live in Florida, you live in North Dakota, you live out in South Carolina, California, it doesn't matter. Wherever you're at, there's things around you that you could be doing.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
So we're here to say we're willing to help.
Yep.
We're willing to help be a part of that process. And we do that through Patros.
Yeah.
Patros is the Greek word for father. It is somebody that you look up to, somebody that gives wisdom, that helps lead you to become who God's called you to be. And we're saying, men, step up and be a Patros.
Yeah.
Be somebody that's leading others so that we can end generational fatherlessness.
Yeah.
And as an organization, we have put ourselves in a position to try to help people
Mhm.
in doing that.
Yeah, that's so good. And so a plug for the Patros platform. I've been able to be on there and see some of the different videos and tools on there, and it's a great resource. So definitely check that out. And let me just I'll even like give kind of a plug for the things that I've done over the years that I would say are like doable for someone in those shoes. Like I've gotten connected with Man Up and have been able to put up a fence, right? Build a fence for a family. I've been able to, clean gutters out for adopted or foster family. I've been able to spend some time with some young guys, some kids, who are in the foster system. I've been able to speak with the football team, about what manhood is. Like there's, I, we've raised money, like there are different things that you can do as someone who is busy and has a lot going
Mhm.
on. I think sometimes it feels like, hey, we either have to be in it every single day or we have to give millions of dollars. And it's brick by brick. It's not a one size fits all type
Yeah.
of a situation.
Yeah.
Like let's create those, like you talked about at the beginning, sometimes it's just looking around you
Mhm.
and saying, what are the people around me who have the biggest need? And, you know, I've had to do this myself sometimes, be like, hey, my most important thing is being a great dad for my kids.
100%.
And then
And it
outside of,
starts there. Let's
right.
be honest.
Yeah.
It starts there. If I'm helping a whole lot of other people
Mm-hmm.
and I'm neglecting my own
Yeah.
kids,
Right.
I've missed it.
Right. Yeah.
And so
I messed it
often
up.
we do good,
Yeah.
but yet we're neglecting the most important thing, and that is our own families.
Right.
And so what I've tried to do over the years is I've tried to bring the two together.
Yeah. Right.
Because I want my kids to see what I do. I want
Yeah.
my kids to be a part of it because I want them, especially my son, I want him growing up
Mm-hmm.
with that heart to serve and that
Yeah.
heart to be, you know, a godly man and be, you know, and for my daughter, I want her to see this is what you should be looking for in somebody someday, right?
Yep.
And so I try bringing the two together,
Mm-hmm.
and so I get my kids and my family involved in serving with us.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? So
Totally,
it's
yeah.
not, oh, dad's over doing his thing, but it's, hey, as a family, this is what God's
This is
called
what we
us
do.
to do, to
Yeah.
serve, to love, to, you know, to impact people like that.
That's awesome. That's good. Well, okay. Have loved the conversation. Appreciate everything that you do, Tim.
Mhm.
If someone wants to get in contact with you or Man Up,
Yeah.
what do they do? What's the
Yeah,
best way to do
you
that?
can go check out manupandgo.org, manupandgo, all spelled out. Or you can email me, tim@manupandgo.org. Be more than happy to have a conversation, regardless of where you live. If you're just saying, hey, I want to do something, I don't know where to start, man, we are here to help with that, kind of get you going in the right direction. So,
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, for me, I love the conversation. I mean, I think there's so much more that we can do. I know everybody's got different things and different stuff going on in their life, but I think back to for you, so much of that is, hey, we're trying to recruit these people into a better life, into a better way of doing things, into being a better dad. And you know, I know Cover 3, kind of our tagline is, we want to change the world by putting people in a position to where they can do the most good. We do that by recruiting, but we also want to shed light on organizations that are doing good as well. So appreciate it, and we'll see you guys next time.